Shalom, it's your brother Malachi of Yahweh's Messengers. First and foremost, I like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Wahat Rekah Kodash. To the Akims that are pushing this gospel in the highways and hedges, the chief place of concourse, and to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. And I just was interested and finding out some more information on the orb that's used to coronate kings and queens of England. So I put this into Google search. Is Britain the only country that still use the orb to coronate kings? And the answer came back, yes, the United Kingdom is the only European country that still uses sovereign's orb as part of an active coronation ceremony. While many European monarchies have abandoned coronation ceremonies entirely in favor of inaugurations or investitures, such as in Norway, Sweden, and the Netherlands, the UK retains a full medieval tradition, which includes the presentation of the orb, scepters, and crowns. Symbolism: the sovereign's orb, a gold sphere surmounted by a cross, represents the Christian world and the monarch's power being derived from God. So there are some other countries like Tonga that also copy and use the orb. But in Europe, England is the only country that still use orbs, scepters and crowns to coronate royalties, king and queens. So I've got another book by Roy Strong. This one's called Coronation. So I was very interested to find out how long ago was the history of using the orb in particular. And here it says orbs and scepters varied in shape, and this here, I don't know why he's saying this. There is no way of knowing whether any is an accurate record of one which actually existed. These are just symbolism, but we also know why and where it comes from. Ecclesiastes 18 verse 3. So it's showing you here, top left, Harold in the Bayeux Tapestry, 1075, which is in France. I've seen that when I visited France some years back. The Bayeux Tapestry, which is quite famous with regards to the Battle of Hastings, the defeat of Harold by William Conqueror, the Norman. So this tapestry was constructed 1075, but the Battle of Hastings was 1066. And there you see now, this is Harold, coronated King of England, 1066, and there you see the orb in his hand. And now we can date the orbs being used in England far back as the 11th century. This was really the information I was seeking. And that is the image of Harold with the orb in his hand on the Bayeux Tapestry, which is in France, at the town of Bayeux. King Harold Godwinson was crowned King of England January the 6th, 1066. The coronation took place in Westminster Abbey, likely on the same day as the funeral of his predecessor, Edward the Confessor, who died on January the 5th. His brief reign lasted until his death at the Battle of Hastings on October the 14th. And as we see with our Israelite sisters there, one of them carrying the orb, that's Dame Elizabeth Anui. There's the St. Edward's crown in the middle. There's the King James Bible at the back. And there's the scepter with dove being held by Baroness Floella Benjamin, a scepter with dove. So we know from Ecclesiasticus 18:3, we derive the customs of an orb being placed into the hand of a king or queen. And we read Ecclesiasticus 18:3, who governeth the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will, for he is the king of all, by his power dividing holy things among them from profane. So this is the derivation where we've got the symbolism of orbs. Now in these books, like by Roy Strong, he does not mention that scripture. Obviously that's the Apocrypha, but he doesn't mention it, none whatsoever, because remember, the heathen are not aware of these things. So I'm just going to call fair use for educational use only. Copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Just going to play a little video.
Abbey here with the hand of God, blessing it.
It's Westminster Abbey.
And here Harold receiving the crown with his orb and his scepter, people looking on. And then spies come across and explain to William in Normandy what's happened in England, that Harold has seized the crown. And here he orders ships to be built for an invasion. So the first thing to cut down the trees and start building the ships. Putting aboard suits of chainmail, needing 2 men to carry them, and spears, arrows. And the last stage is to get the horses on board these long ships. Very tricky, and they don't look particularly happy. The boats set sail, they cross over to Pevensey, land safely at Pevensey, go ashore, and then the real task begins. But first, the army has to be fed. There's a tureen there being boiled. They're sort of chicken kebabs, they look like. And here, William feasting with his men. And then they're preparing for war. They build a castle of wood at Hastings. William's followers set light to some of the Anglo-Saxon houses. A woman leading her child away from her burning house. And then battle commences, quite slowly to start with the cavalry charging against Harold's forces. Heads chopped off, hands chopped off, and the battle rages all day long. In the confusion of the battle, as swords and axes clang against shields, a dangerous rumour sweeps William's army that he has been killed. So what does he do? He turns round in his saddle, lifts his helmet off, and shows himself to his troops. And the battle goes on. And then we come to the famous design of Harold with the arrow in his eye. Nobody quite knows whether that is what happened. And here, slaughtered. I've seen this many times. Every time I see it, I have to say, it just brings the whole story of William's invasion of England alive. You really feel here, because this was done by people living only a few years after the event, you really feel the power and the passion that went into it. It's a completely magical work of art.
Okay, I'll just continue on with that lesson. Yes, and as we know, He's Got the Whole World in His Hand is a Negro spiritual, and this is Mahalia Jackson singing the song. So we've got deep heritage and roots here in Europe, and in particular England. Quite the obvious opposite to what we've been taught. And the first scripture is Job chapter 8 verse 8 and 9. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and knoweth nothing, because our days upon earth are a shadow. So yeah, we're doing deep dive back into history to recover our heritage, which has been stolen from us, given to another nation. And this is Dr. Marie Charles. This post in particular is called Britain's Original Black Elites and Their French Cultural Continuities. William Conqueror was a Norman from France, and as I said before, Israelites were ruling France as well as England. And he defeated Harold and became King of England with his victory at Battle of Hastings, 1066. And she has confirmed that William Conqueror was a melanated man. As you can see here, continental Europe and its Black Shakur foundations. Yeah, so if we read about what his achievements were here in England, I'll just put in Google, which King of England built Windsor Castle? William the Conqueror founded Windsor Castle around 1070 to 1086 as a timber, moat and bailey fortress to guard the western approach to London. While he initiated the site, it was later significantly expanded into a stone palace by Henry II and extensively rebuilt by Edward III. So, Windsor Castle, I think I've got a few pictures of the completed castle. Once again, we have got extensive heritage and history of Israelites here in England. William Conqueror would be an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. And with that, I'm just going to now do a memorial, because I've completed my lesson now. That's the last one. Yeah. A memorial to my aunt, Isilda. She passed away on the 20th of the 2nd, 2026 at the age of 103. At the age of 103. So she emigrated from Jamaica to America and had her family and children and lived the bulk of her life in America, and she passed away recently at the grand old age of 103. Just gonna read the scripture. Book of Psalms chapter 90 verse 10. Book of Psalms chapter 90 verse 10. The days of our years are 80 years and 10, which is 70. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labour and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. Actually, she managed to make 50, which is 100, by means of strength. And my next scripture is Psalms 91 verse 1 and 2. He dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under, let me start again. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of Yahweh, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. And with that, I'd like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Waha, Rekah, Kodash. Kum Yasha Allah, Kum Yasha Allah. Shalom, it's Brother Malakia. Shalom.